Okay, so here's the story of why we're in Dallas, why we moved from our life in Grand Rapids, left relationships that we really enjoyed and the things that we really liked, and came to Dallas. About 5 years ago, um, I was praying one night, and it was a Friday night, and I was by myself, and I felt like God told me to sell my house. And the next morning, I told my wife that we needed to sell our house, and God told me that we needed to sell our house. And she reacted about what like any life would, and she was freaking out at me and told me I was crazy and I needed some help. So I talked to God a little bit more, and I said, "Hey, God, I need some confirmation on why I would need to sell my house. Well, not why I would need to sell my house, but I need confirmation that it was you that told me to sell my house." So I asked him to have a couple people sit down at the bar and tell me how easy it was for them to sell their house, and that would be confirmation. And I asked them to do it that night, so it was a Saturday night. So I went to work that Saturday night, forgot all about my prayer. Worked along, kept going. About 11:30, a couple sits down right across from me, and I walk right up to them, and they say, "Hey, we sold our house. We sold it in one day, and we sold it to missionaries." So as you can imagine, I was like, "No way, we gotta sell our house." So I was half excited and half scared, but more excited that I was right more than anything. So I got up the next morning and I told Tracy and said, "Hey, we gotta sell our house, and this is what God did." And she looked at me and she's like, "You need wise counsel." And so she asked me to go see the pastor at the time, Pastor Ray Beefus. Wasn't a pastor at the time, and I went and sat down with him, set up a meeting, and I talked to him for a little while, and we had a great long conversation. But the words that came out of that meeting was the ones that I remember anyway, were sometimes God tells you what to do, and your wife when to do it. So over the next, well, it was 5 years. Over the next 5 years, we learned, growed in character, and grew as a family. Um, and we learned about God and that kind of thing. And we were introduced to a couple of different people doing ministry all over the world. One being Todd White, the other being like Dan Moeller. We'd been interested into Robbie Dawkins, what he was doing, and watching the move of the Holy Spirit and God actually intervening in people's lives. So these guys started doing this conference called Power and Love, and it was a 4-day school event. And they were doing it all over the world. They were hitting Australia, they were hitting Europe, they were hitting, you name it, they were hitting a lot of big places. When I noticed that they were doing this, they were in New York. And I told Tracy at the time, I said, if they ever come anywhere near Grand Rapids, we're going to have to go to this conference. And she agreed. So we expected to see them at some point, maybe in Chicago or Indianapolis or something, 4 or 5 hours away from home. But about 4 months later, they announced that they were coming to Grand Rapids at the Deltaplex, which is 15 minutes, 20 minutes from the house. So I was super excited, and I was like, "Trace, we're going. We get to go to this conference, get to see what these guys are really doing and get to see them live." And so Tracy got online and found out what the school was all about after she agreed to go, and found out that this conference was a school or training center where they would actually teach us some stuff, and then they would send us out into the streets and actually have us pray for people. She didn't think that was too keen, and decided she didn't really necessarily want to go. Therefore, she dragged her feet, and one Sunday, she came out of church and she looked at me and she said, "I think God just told me I got to go with you to this conference." So we went to the conference, and it was extremely, I guess I don't have a word. It was amazing. It was awesome. It grabbed her right where it needed to grab her, right by the heart. She's seen God move in a lot of different ways. And during the conference, they had introduced us to Lifestyle Christianity University, which they're starting here in Dallas as of Monday. They started September 10th. So we walked out of that conference, and Tracy looked at me and she said, "You need to go down to that school." And I'm like, that's just horrible timing. We had our family was embedded into Grand Rapids area. The rest of my family was there. My friends were all there. our life was completely there, including a business which my dad bought, intending for me to take over from him. So from that point, I went home and I did what I did the last time. I said, hey God, really, this is amazing, but at the same time, how about we wait till January? Because this school doesn't even know what they're doing yet. They don't even have anything under control. So how about we wait till semester 2? That gives me 3-4 months to be able to set Dad up, to be able to let that school get situated. And in the back of my mind, I heard, isn't it going to be fun to be on the ground floor, being that the school was brand new and that kind of thing. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that wasn't my thought, because that sounds horrible. But about 3-4 hours later, Tracy comes right up to me, looks me square in the eye and says, isn't it going to be fun to be on the ground floor? And I'm like, no way. The same words the guy just used, I think my wife just used. And so I looked at her and said, all right, let's see what this looks like, see how this happens. So we sat down and we made a list of things that needed to be done in order to get there. The list included taking an application, or filling out the application, and getting accepted. Also, selling the house, selling everything in the house, telling Dad that we were leaving, figuring out how to set up my dad's business, set up the bar for success after I left, getting the people trained, or at least in a good spot to be able to take over when I left. It was a list a mile long, and I said, we got 11 weeks, God, we got to figure this out. And I said, I can't do it, so it's on you. So let's see if we can get this done. And that one thing after another just kept flying open. The doors were flying open. It was fun to watch him work. Really, really fun to watch him work. My daughter and my kids, they all took it pretty well. But Ava, the oldest, 12 years old, really had a hard time with it, moving away from friends and whatnot. And so we were leaving church one Sunday, and we were heading north about a half hour to our campground. And so we were headed up north, and we were about 10 miles away from our exit, and she all of a sudden out of the back seat says, anybody else see that billboard? And I said, hey honey, what? No, I didn't see the billboard. What did the billboard said? And there's a billboard, on the side of the street that said, saddle up to Dallas easily on it. And it gave her a pretty good grin, and she was pretty excited about it, that God would include her in the decision to move, and use her, use some stuff to confirm to her that it was what he wanted us to do. And that sign stayed up for about 30 days, and then all of a sudden one day it was gone. And I noticed on the way home from work, it got closer. It moved to an exit really close to home. So it was kind of funny to see God moving stuff closer to success, or to what he wanted to see done. From there, we just kept doing things. The house ended up selling in about 9 days. We were supposed to close the day we left. Things just kept falling in line one after another, till the point where we had no choice. We were leaving, and we couldn't choose any different way but to follow God to where he wanted us to go. That being said, there's some more to the story, and maybe I'll fill you all in on it a little bit later, but that's the kind of the basics of it. But we got to Dallas. Hey Max, how's it going, buddy? So we got to Dallas a week ago. You guys have got the last video, but school started Monday. I can tell you that the week or so of travel and getting to Dallas was really difficult. We had lots of bad things happen. You guys seen that, some videos, but starting the school Monday, it was all worth it. There wasn't a single thing that we went through that I wouldn't go through again to get this opportunity to go to this school, to be around the people that did the same thing as I did from all over the country, that gave up their lives to come down here and be part of this movement of God at this school, Lifestyle Christianity University. Yeah, it's just been really cool. Day 2 was just as awesome. God's moving all over this. I can't wait to see what he's going to do through me and the people that are involved in the school as well. So yeah, be blessed and have a good day. We'll talk to you soon.